Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today we are kind of doing a leftovers day. So we are going to make some sourdough croutons for our salad. We're going to make a Cobb salad using some hard-boiled eggs and leftover Easter ham. We're going to make egg salad sandwiches and then ham sandwiches. So it's kind of just like a day where we can use up the rest of our leftovers from a holiday. So I've got some sourdough bread. I'm going to cube up for some homemade croutons. And then we'll pop these in the oven because tonight we'll be baking up two fresh loaves. We've got another traditional loaf and then a sage, garlic, and caramelized onion loaf. So we're going to get these croutons growing. This is a great way to use up some of your sourdough when it's dried, or getting towards the last leg of it. So we're just going to give it a good cube. It's also a great way to use some of your, like if you have leftover savory bits of loaves, they make the best croutons. So we're just cube these, then we're going to dress them in a little olive oil and some seasonings for our salad. They're also, I'm going to say, I just love to eat the croutons when they come out because they're so good. Although I'll say it's kind of weird, but my whole family loves croutons. My 9-year-old and my 3-year-old love to just eat croutons out of the bag. So these are great. They're great snacks too, but they're good for soups and salads. Okay, let's get a few more. This is our traditional sour loaf, anyways. And we're going to go good. We're going to make kind of like a Cobb salad. So we kind of had two Easter dinners. So one night we had ham and the other night we had lamb lollies. So we have leftover ham. And I will say ham is a great thing that you can make so many different leftovers with. So I always buy a great big old ham when I'm doing it. And then we have, all sorts of stuff. So we're going to have it in our salad, kind of do a Cobb salad where we're going to use some of our hard boiled eggs that we dyed at Easter. And then I make an egg salad sandwich too. And then egg sandwiches or ham sandwiches. Okay. We've got this all chopped up. Now we want to drizzle it with a nice kind of I want to say maybe around a fourth a cup of olive oil. I'm just going to give it a nice little pour over it because you need it to crisp up. You don't need to go more than that. You could probably skimp and do a little less if you wanted to. We're going to shake about, I want a lot of oregano. I love it. About 2 teaspoons of oregano on here. And then we're going to do a little bit of herb de Provence. And give it a nice little sprinkle. This is just kind of like your everything spice mix, the OG original spice mix. And then some black pepper and some garlic salt. And voila, we have delicious croutons for our salad today. So give this, and then once you have all your spices on here, you're going to really want to coat them in that olive oil mixture. So just move your hands around. And I like to just squeeze them because it squeezes out, bread is like a sponge, especially sourdough. So just give them a squeeze to squeeze out some of that oil so that you can coat everything evenly. But you want them to kind of look like they're a little bit wet. There we go. But you make sure when you do this, you want to get it all coated because that seasoning is where all the deliciousness is. Okay. And then we're going to pop these in the oven. I'm going to give my hands a quick wash since they are coated at 400. And we're going to cook them for about 10 minutes. They don't need long to crisp up. Okay. You want to make sure, though, when you do it, you spread them out, have enough room to breathe because you don't want soggy croutons. So I've got these in here. And then I'm going to set my timer so I don't forget about them. For around 10 minutes or so. Okay, I've got paint all over me. I'm in the process of doing a project. I had my husband put up a board and batten in our hallway. We have a long hallway, and so we're in the process of painting it. Let's start prepping our stuff let's do our egg salad first, and then we'll do things. So we're gonna use 3 of our dyed eggs. We're going to save one for a salad, for an egg salad, because I'm going to have an egg salad. I'm going to do a ham sandwich for that. So we're going to crack them. And then what I like to do when I crack them is just get a little bowl of water. Helps you kind of get them cracked up. This is a great way to use extra eggs. You know, your kids love to dye up eggs, and my kids do. And you always have like hard-boiled eggs for day. I have gotten to the point where my older kids can dye raw eggs, like, you know what I mean? That way you don't have to have a bunch of hard-boiled ones. But for like Jack and Teddy, they still have to do hard-boiled eggs. Otherwise, you'll just lose way too many. Here. So we've got one down. Just make sure you get your shells off. Now, somebody like commented last time, I poked my eggs with a little egg poker, and they had never seen that before, but it pokes a little hole in it so that when it heats up, the steam water can get between the membrane and the egg, and it allows the peels to come off pretty effortlessly. You know how sometimes you can get your eggs to the shell sticks to them when you're peeling? The little egg poker, that's makes it to where they come off nice like this and not take off half your peel or half your egg white with it. Okay, here we go. So we've got our beautiful eggs here. Let me get these eggshells gone. I'm going to wash my hands because I got a couple little eggshells on there. And then we're going to give these a kind of a quick dice up for our egg salad. So we're going to chop them, do a coarse chop. So I'm going to put them all in force. You know, I had one of those little like egg slicer things, but I feel like it was more of a pain to clean it up than to use it. It's a good old knife, takes about 2 seconds for these. Okay, we're going to get our eggs in here. And now we need to make our base for our egg salad. So we're going to chop up some celery. Just take the ends off. I just need about 2 stalks of it, but I just want the inner parts. And then you don't want to have a huge piece, so make sure you're going to come down, and I'm going to cut these into thirds so that I have really more delicate pieces of celery to give it a crunch. But I do love the celery in my egg salad. Just like with chicken salad, I love that crunch. So we're going to mince this up because I want them nice little small bits of crunch. So it's going to be around like closer to 1 stalk because I took off the tips and the bottoms, and these were already smaller ones. So for about 3 eggs, 1 stalk. If you're going to make a lot more, double it. So we've got our celery in here. And then we're going to use some red onion. So I'm just going to cut off. I always have 1 red onion, and it lasts me forever because I just really use it for salads and sandwiches. So I just cut off sections of it. And we're going to mince this red onion up as well. And this is like going to be close to maybe 1/4 of a cup of red onion. I don't even think we're going to save a little bit for our salad. We don't even need that much. And then we're just going to do a nice little things. You want to use red onion. You don't want to use a yellow onion or a white onion. You could use shallots if you wanted. These are less astringent and more mild. So they're going to be delicious in our egg salad. There we go. And we've got that. We're going to chop up some fresh parsley. And we're going to give this a nice little mince and have it in there. That will add a nice little fresh flavor to it. I'm going to be using dried dill, but if you had fresh dill, about a teaspoon or so of fresh dill would be perfect in here. But I do not have, so we're just going to use dried today. And this is going to be for our egg salad that we're going to use for our egg salad sandwich. This is what we did growing up. So when I was younger, it wasn't until I was older that we did plastic eggs. So up until I was like 8 or 9, we did hard boiled eggs. And just imagine, I'm the youngest of 10. So we would all dye hard boiled eggs and then we'd go hide them, and we each would, dye about a dozen. So think around like 100 to 120 eggs, hard boiled eggs. So we ate a lot of egg salad sandwiches, deviled eggs after Easter. We're going to use the tip of one green onion and then mince it up. And we're going to throw that in there as well. You could use chives too if you wanted. There we go. Now we're going to make our little base. Let me get a little bowl and we'll add that to it. And a spoon. Okay, we need some mayo. So we want about, I want to say like a big heaping spoonful of mayo, maybe a tablespoon and a half. Can't skimp on the mayo. And again, you want to use full fat. And make sure your mayo is fresh. Then we are going to add some mustard in it. Now, I don't add very much because I'm not a huge mustard fan, but I do feel like you have to have it in here. So I go a little less on the thing, and I'm going to put about a half a teaspoon in here if I can open it. There we go. These things, they make the lift flaps. They're like, it's easier to open. I can never open them, especially on like salad dressings. There we go. So I'm just going to give it a nice little squeeze in here. So about a half a teaspoon, because again, I'm not a huge fan of mustard. If you like more, then you could do definitely like a teaspoon or so. We're going to put in about a half a teaspoon of dried dill. And then some black pepper. Just a good shake here. Maybe a fourth of a teaspoon, you think, but really just a little shake. And then a nice shake of garlic salt. And we're going to use some fresh lemon. We're going to use some of that for our vinaigrette, but we're going to use about, get these seeds out, a good tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. There we go. I'm going to squeeze it all out in here. And this is going to make the base for our egg salad for our sandwiches. There we go. And we're going to give this a good stir. Mix this up. And then we're going to add this to our hard-boiled eggs, our onions, celery, and everything, and mix it up. And then the trick is I always like to let my egg salad sit for about 5 or so minutes so those kind of flavors really marry in. So we're going to mix it here and then just mix it up and get all of that hard-boiled egg around. Whenever you see that, you kind of want to mush that a little bit. You can always, sometimes my mom would take out like 2 or 3 like the centers of 2 of the 3 of the eggs and then mush them into the mayo mixture to give it a really rich thing. So here we go. And then before I let it sit, we're going to see if I need any more salt or seasonings to it. Perfect. Okay. So we're going to let that sit there. Let those flavors marry. And while we're doing that, we're going to work on our, we'll work on our salad making our dressing, our homemade dressing. So I have a head of romaine lettuce. We're just going to cut off the ends. I always like to buy my whole heads. They last so much longer. They stay fresh longer than the bag salad. Now, if you're going to eat your salad right away, then bag salad is great. But these will stay fresh in my fridge for at least a week, if not longer. Okay. We've got our romaine lettuce. And let's cut up our cucumber. This is just a baby cuke. We're going to quarter it. I have a little tickle here. And we're going to just chop up the edges and quarter it. I'm gonna add this. We're gonna get all of our ingredients into it. So we're gonna do kind of like a Cobb salad. So we're gonna use some ham and some red onions and a hard-boiled egg and a little bit of salami in there. I know you typically use like a turkey or whatnot, but I'm just not a big fan of turkey all the time. Okay, we've got our red onion here. I'm going to do it in a kind of a smaller chop. Again, I like to have little bits of red onion instead of a huge big old string of it. Here we go, a little mince over it. And it sounds like our croutons are ready to come out. So let's go grab those and we'll give them a quick toss and we'll let them crunch up. Grab a trivet. Okay, so these are our croutons made from our leftover sourdough. So it's just, again, a great way to use up that sourdough when it's getting towards the very end. You toss with a bit of oil, dried herbs, and salt and pepper, and they're just so delicious. So we've got our croutons there. And now we put our red onions in our salad, and we're going to add our tomatoes. Where did I put them? Here they are. We've got I saw these the other day. They're tropically sweet tomatoes. So I figured they looked really, really cool. So I was just going to try them out. See what. They are actually sweeter. But a handful of these. I love tomatoes. Evie will be excited. She loves tomatoes as well. So they were just cool. And I was like, oh, why not? Okay, we've got our cucumbers in here. We've got our red onions. Let's grab some ham and some cheese. So we have our leftover ham from Easter. And this is what is so great about some of these recipes is it's a good way to use up some of our food in a way that isn't just reheating the same meal. So we're going to cut up and we're going to cube our ham. And here. And I'm going to always, when I like to do it, I do like to cut off the crust. It's the outside of the ham, just because it doesn't always turn off quite as nice. And then just cut off any little bits of fat. And then we're going to cube these for our salad. You could also, if you like to, you could throw a bit in your egg salad too. The flavors work really well together. And we're going to cut off the edge of that. And again, cube it here. I think tomorrow I'm going to do ham and cheese omelets with some of our leftovers because we're getting down to the very end. And I do love a good ham and cheese or a Southwest ham and cheese omelet. They're so good. It actually kind of reminds me of the time. So when Evie was born, she ended up being pretty sick because at the time we didn't know it, but she didn't know how to eat and her lungs were underdeveloped. So she kept aspirating in her lungs. But we at the time didn't know that. And so we spent about a month in the hospital with her, going between, the peds floor and the ICU because she kept aspirating in her lungs, which caused her to breathe really fast, which put her at risk for a heart attack and a stroke. And, we went through like test after test trying to figure it out. Like the heart, the brain, the heart, the brain. But I stayed with her for the whole time in the hospital because I just couldn't leave my little baby. And it was hard to leave my other ones at home. But I was there with her the whole time. And because I was like a nursing mother, you got like a free meal from the hospital. And I think I ate a ham and cheese omelet every single day I was in that hospital. It was like the only good food in the hospital was their omelets because they made them fresh every day. Okay, we've got our cubed ham in here. You toss out the rest for that. And then We're going to use a little bit of cheddar cheese in there. We're going to cube it up well. I'm going to do 2 slices of sharp cheddar and cube it with it. You could use shredded, but like traditionally, you know, when they present the Cobb, it has like all of the meats and cheeses cubed up. So we're just going to do that as well.
You have a question? Do you have any dogs?
I do. I have 2 dogs, and then I should really say I have like 2.5 because we always dog sit my mom's dog because she loves her dog so much. She does not believe that her dog should ever be alone. So whenever she goes to work, she brings her dog here. Whenever she goes out to eat, she brings her dog here. Goes out shopping, she brings her dog here. So she's really like our dog too. But she's here all the time. But we have some cavies that probably will be running around here and whatnot. Okay, we've got 1 egg. We're gonna add this to our Cobb salad because you gotta have a hard-boiled egg in there. And let's get this. I'm gonna just run it under the water, do a quick peel. It's easier to peel with water because it helps the shells come off and not get all over you. There we go. I always know when you have your dyed eggs because they've got all the little fun colors in them. My kids like to do dinosaur eggs when they dye them, which means you kind of crack them up some and then you dye them 2 things and they look really cool. But the downside is your egg is also completely neon. You're going to put our cubed hard-boiled egg in here. Okay, let's make our dressing for our salad, and then I think we'll prep up our sandwiches and then we'll be ready. Okay, we are going to start out with, where's my olive oil? Here it is. So I love these things. We're going to put in about 2 ounces of olive oil. These things are so great because you don't have to then get all these measurements out. We're going to do kind of like a creamy Italian. We are going to add in about a 1/2 ounce of vinegar. And then we're going to use fresh lemon juice. So we're having 2, like the vinegar and the fresh lemon juice is going to be the 2 like acids for it to help create the emulsion of the dressing. But I love that. I think fresh lemon juice just tastes so lovely in salads.
I have a question. Can you go over everything that's in the salad?
Yes. So we have romaine lettuce and a cucumber, red onions, special tomatoes, essentially cherry tomatoes. Then we did cubed ham, cubed cheddar cheese, and cubed eggs. And now we're going to do a nice little vinaigrette, Italian vinaigrette for it. We're going to do a squeeze of mustard in here, about a teaspoon. And then the creamy part for this comes from the mayo. So most creamy dressings, their base that makes them creamy is the mayo. So we're going to put in about a tablespoon. And now we're going to do our spices. We've got some green onions. So we're going to use up the rest of that green onion that we used in our thing and then a little bit of more. I'm going to cut off the very bottom parts that are really white. These aren't going to be good in there. Now this is really just going to lend its flavor and good things. So like the longer it sits in there, the more green oniony flavor you get. So it's absolutely delicious.
You got a comment that someone uses one of your recipes every week for their menus.
Oh, awesome. I'm so glad. I'm glad that people are using them and they're recreating them. That's the whole point around me starting these cooking things was to, teach people how to cook and hopefully get some recipes that aren't super complicated and crazy, but delicious out there. I feel like cooking is kind of almost a dying art. I feel like people are like, oh, you're always cooking. And I'm like, well, I cook, I try to make sure my kids get 2 home cooked meals a day. but people have to eat. And so it's not like crazy, but it's really expensive eating out or buying a lot of processed foods. So, I find it's healthier, cheaper, and it creates a good community with my family. Like, we're always eating around the table together. We're going to put about a teaspoon of garlic salt in here. And then some black pepper, about a half a teaspoon. If you like yours a bit more peppery, you can add a bit more. There we go. And then I did the green onions. Let me cut up my parsley now. So this is going to be about a tablespoon of fresh parsley minced up with it. And you can do dried parsley. Now, if you do dried herbs, you can make a bigger batch and it will last longer. With the fresh herbs, you want to do more, like, you make smaller batches that you can eat more often for it. I typically will make it enough for us to have like two salad meals out of it. Or if the whole family's eating salads, then one, just that, and I can make it fresh and I can change it up, because this is a creamy Italian and I love Italian, but my favorite dressing is just the good old fashioned homemade ranch. I love it. That was like all I was talking to my daughter the other day about in high school. I said I ate about a chicken tender salad every single day with ranch dressing, because for some reason the high school I went to had the best ranch dressing. Even my sister we all talk about how great this ranch dressing was. And I'm sure it wasn't that amazing, but it tasted pretty amazing. And then we're going to add some dried oregano. If I had fresh oregano, I would definitely use it, but I do not. So we're going to just use some dried, about a teaspoon. And now we are ready to shake this baby up. Again, this thing is so awesome. I got it I think I picked it up at Target, but it's like through OXO. But it's a great way to make a homemade salad dressing without having to do a lot of work. Okay. We've got our salad dressing, so we'll dress our salad in just a second. Let's get our sandwiches made. See, we flip this thing over, otherwise we're going to have there we go. Okay, so we are using this again, I told you it's my leftover day. We're going to use up everything. I don't like anything to go to waste. So we made these delicious, I will say they were yeast rolls with sourdough discard. So they had primarily the rising agent was yeast, and the sourdough discard just added a little extra flavor. So a little bit different. I do make these sourdough rolls that have a little bit of yeast, but these are the opposite. I do like my sourdough rolls better, but when I'm in a time crunch and I only have about like an hour and a half, these are where to go. They're delicious, and they can be made quicker. Okay, let's get our sandwiches ready. We're going to use some butter leaf lettuce. I love butter leaf lettuce, or Boston bib lettuce, however you want to call it. So here is for our delicious egg salad sandwich. Lost some. Put it on there. Got to put it between two lettuce leaves. Helps keep it in your sandwich. And let me get a second plate so we can dress it up. Now this one, little less bourgeois. Do a little sliced tomato on it. So we're going to use our ham and cheese. My husband doesn't care for egg salad, so he gets ham and cheese. So we've got our ham. I'm going to cut away. You always want to cut away this little things, just because when you're eating a ham dinner, it's fine, but in a sandwich, it's just not, doesn't make it as nice. So we've got there. Okay, we'll cut up one more. But again, this is such a great way to reuse some of your leftovers, but in a meal that is slightly different. So we've got our ham sandwich, put our tomatoes on, and put a little bit of lettuce. So he's got his sandwich. You know what I should get? Let's see if I have them. These will help hold them together. You got to be really bougie. I need the ones that have little flags on it, you know, when you go to like the restaurant and they send you your bougie sandwich. Look at this. Got your thing on there. I need to create a little cooking with Elsie Jensen flag. Okay, so we've got our 2 sandwiches here. Now let's dress up our salad for thing. So we've got all of our good stuff in here. Now we're going to put our salad dressing in and our croutons in. So let me grab a spatula. And these are, you can see they're like nice and crunchy. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it has a nice little crunch on it. So we're going to toss these in to our salad. And then we're going to take our homemade salad dressing and we're going to give it a nice shake. And I always like to dress my salads in a really big bowl. That's like the trick to getting everything coated with there. So we can toss it in our homemade vinaigrette. There we go. Just add a little bit more. Be delicious. And this is our homemade Cobb salad. So we're going to plate these guys up. So whoop. And this is a great way, again, to reuse some of our leftovers. So we reused our ham in the Cobb salad and our ham sandwich. We used up some of our old sourdough to make homemade croutons. And then we used up our hard-boiled eggs from Easter to make an egg salad sandwich. So it is a great way to refashion some of our old, like our leftovers. So you're having new great meals without having to cook everything up new. It's more about the prep. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, show you what I'm making, hopefully teach you guys how to cook some different recipes. Again, all of our videos we do upload to the link, so you can always rewatch there. But I think that's all for today. Thanks again for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe.